algebra and geometry? Yuck! But Miss Pocket Ronnie can help you.
In Appendix B, we're also reviewing 30, 60, 90 special triangles. So here from this pattern, also just to say that these patterns came from Pythagorean theorem. In a 30, 60, 90 triangle or a 45, 45, 90 triangle, you can still always use Pythagorean theorem. The problem is you're not given enough sides on these to use Pythagorean theorem, but these patterns came from Pythagorean theorem. Someone did Pythagorean theorem on a 30, 60, 90 triangle enough times and they came up with a pattern to have like a shortcut to determine your legs and your hypotenuse. So, just to say that these shortcuts and tips on the two special triangles came from Pythagorean theorem because you can use Pythagorean theorem on any right triangle. So for a 30, 60, 90 triangle, just as a reminder, if this is a 90 degrees, these two have to add up to 90 to make sure that everything adds up to 180 inside that triangle. So on a 30, 60, 90 triangle, this side is called the short leg because it's opposite the smaller angle. This side is called the long leg because it's opposite the larger of the other two angles. Okay, as a reminder, the hypotenuse is still opposite the 90 degrees and the hypotenuse is always the longest side. But of these two sides, we call this the short leg and the long leg. The short leg is represented with the B. Then the hypotenuse will be 2 times the short leg. So if you know the short leg, then you can determine the hypotenuse because the hypotenuse is 2 times the short leg. Okay, the long leg is, B is the short leg, so you take the short leg times square root of 3 to get the long leg. Okay, so on these 30, 60, 90 triangles, it just depends on what you are given. If you are given the short leg, then take that short leg, multiply it by 2 to get your hypotenuse. Then take your short leg, multiply by square root of 3 to get your long leg. Okay, what if you're given the hypotenuse? If you're given the hypotenuse, it's easier. Take your hypotenuse, divide it in half to get your short leg. Then once you know your short leg, multiply by square root of 3 to get your long leg. Okay, what if you are given your long leg? To go from the long leg to the short leg, you divide by square root of 3. Because if you took B square root of 3 and then divided by square root of 3, those would cancel and you're just left with B, which is the short leg. So if you're given the long leg, divide by square root of 3 to get your short leg. Then once you know your short leg, you can multiply by 2 to get your hypotenuse. We're going to do a triangle, one of each, to where we're given something different. Okay? If you look at page B1, problem 15, 30, 60, 90 triangle. How do I know? I've got a right angle, 90 degrees, 60. This one's not labeled, but I know it has to be 30 because 60 plus 30 plus 90 is 180. Okay, so therefore I know it's a 30, 60, 90 special right triangle. So here I've been given the short leg. Okay, following the pattern from above, if I've given the short leg, the easiest thing to determine next is the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is 2 times the short leg. So this is 2 times 11, which is 22. So the hypotenuse is 22. Also, if you know the short leg, you can find the long leg. The long leg is just the short leg times square root of 3. Nothing more to do to simplify that radical. So this side, they're just labeling the legs A and B, and they're labeling the hypotenuse H on all of these. So it doesn't matter what they're calling this letter. So the long leg is 11 square root of 3, the hypotenuse is 22 on that one. Okay, looking at on page B2, problem number 3. Again, 30, 60, 90 triangle. How do I know? There's my right angle, which is 90. If this one is 30, this has to be 60. So therefore I know it's a 30, 60, 90, even though all of the angles aren't labeled. So on this one, you are given the hypotenuse. You can't use Pythagorean theorem on these because you're not given enough information. On Pythagorean theorem, you have to have at least 2 sides to find the third one. So on these, you have to use special triangle shortcut tips. So you're given the hypotenuse. The easiest thing to find is the short leg. The short leg is across from the smaller of the other two angles. So the short leg is across from the 30. So hypotenuse will be, the short leg will be half of the hypotenuse because the hypotenuse is 2 times the short leg. So take your hypotenuse, cut it in half, divide it by 2, all the same thing. So then I can see that my short leg is 8. To double check yourself, you can go backwards. If my short leg is 8, my hypotenuse should be 2 times that. 2 times 8 is 16. Once you know your short leg, take your short leg, multiply it by square root of 3 to find the long leg. Okay? So again, the long leg is the short leg times square root of 3. Nothing more to do to simplify that. So that is the answer for your long leg. Now let's go down to back to page B1, problem number 16. Okay, you have this triangle. They give you the smaller angle of 30, but you know it's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. They give you the long leg. Okay, if you're given the long leg, it's going to be easier to find the short leg first. Okay, if you're given the long leg, to go backwards to the short leg, you need to divide by square root of 3. So in other words, the short leg is the long leg divided by square root of 3. Our square root of 3's cancel, and so therefore all I'm left with is 12. So my short leg is 12. So my short leg is 12. I can double check myself. If my short leg is 12, how do I go to the long leg? Take the short leg, multiply by square root of 3, and that's my long leg. Now, I know my short leg, how do I find my hypotenuse? My hypotenuse is 2 times the short leg. So my hypotenuse is 2 times my short leg, which that would be 24. So your hypotenuse is 24.